Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down big, complex topics into roadmaps that actually make sense. Today, we're diving headfirst into the massive world of cybersecurity, and we're going to lay out a clear path from knowing absolutely nothing to becoming a real pro.
So why are we even talking about this right now? Well, it all starts with this number, 35%. Get this, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics says that jobs for information security analysts are going to grow by a staggering 35% over the next decade. I mean, that's not just fast growing, that is an absolute explosion of opportunity. We're talking about a seriously future-proof career.
And that's the real question, isn't it? It's one thing to see the opportunity, but it's another thing to figure out how to get there. The path can look like this, impenetrable wall of acronyms and super technical jargon. Honestly, it's easy to feel totally overwhelmed before you even type your first line of code.
But don't you worry, we're not just going to show you the mountain, we're giving you the map and the compass to climb it. Here's our game plan. First, we'll size up the cybersecurity challenge. Then, we'll walk through a 3-act journey, the foundation, the arena, and the strategist. And finally, we'll talk about the expert benchmark, how you actually prove you know your stuff.
Okay, let's dive right in. First things first, we need to understand the true scale of this field and, why you can't just watch a few videos and call yourself an expert.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Becoming a real expert in cybersecurity isn't some weekend project. It's not about getting one little certificate. It is a structured journey of constant learning and, crucially, real-world experience. So let's forget about the shortcuts and talk about the actual plan.
We've broken this whole journey down into 3 acts, kind of like a hero's story. In Act 1, you'll forge your foundation, learning all the fundamental rules. In Act 2, you enter the arena, where you fight actual, real-world battles. And in Act 3, you become the strategist, the one who designs the entire defense from the top down.
So every hero has to start somewhere, right? They have to learn the basic laws of their new world. For us, that means mastering the core principles that govern literally everything in cybersecurity. This is where it all begins. At the absolute core of all cybersecurity is something called the CIA triad. And no, not that CIA. This stands for confidentiality, integrity, and availability. You got to understand this. Almost every single security measure, policy, or tool out there exists to do one of these 3 things. Keep data secret, make sure it hasn't been tampered with, or ensure you can get to it when you need it. It's that simple. Okay, this slide is fantastic because it clears up 3 words you are going to hear all the time. A threat is the bad guy, right? The hacker trying to get in. A vulnerability is the unlocked window they can climb through, like some old, outdated software. And risk is what happens when that hacker climbs through that window. Threat plus vulnerability equals risk. Getting that sequence down is key to everything. And this brings us to one of the coolest strategies, defense in depth. Think about it. No single defense is ever going to be perfect, so the idea is to build layers, like a medieval castle. If they get across the moat, they still have to deal with the wall. If they breach the wall, they still have to get past the guards. It's the exact same idea, just for the digital world. All right, you've got your foundation. Now it's time to step into the practical world. Welcome to Act 2, the arena. This is where all that theory meets reality. You're about to face active threats and learn how to use the real tools of defense.
This is where you fight your first battles. We're not just talking theory anymore. You're learning to spot ransomware before it locks up your files, to tell the difference between a regular phishing email and a sophisticated whaling attack, and to understand all the clever ways the bad guys try to get in.
Now, a huge part of being in the arena is managing who gets access to what, and this university campus analogy is just perfect. Authentication is proving you are who you say you are. That's like showing your student ID at the campus gate. But authorization is what that ID actually lets you do. You're authorized to go into the library, but maybe not the chemistry lab. 2 simple ideas that are absolutely critical for security.
And of course, you finally step into the world of cryptography. I mean, come on, this is the modern-day magic of secret codes. You take a normal message, what we call plain text, you run it through some crazy math, and it comes out as unreadable ciphertext. This is how you make sure that even if someone steals your data, it's completely useless to them.
And now for the final act. This is where you level up. You're not just a fighter on the front lines anymore. You become the high-level general. You stop just reacting to attacks, and you start designing the entire defense strategy from the very top.
You see, the big shift here is your perspective. As a strategist, you're the one creating the rules and the policies for the entire organization's security.
You're looking at the big picture, managing risk, making sure everything is compliant, all before a threat ever shows up. At this expert level, you're doing a deep dive into these advanced domains, everything from security operations to network security. This is the heavy-duty knowledge that you need for the industry's most respected certifications, like the big one, the CISP, which tests your mastery across all of these critical areas.
And this analogy for SecOps is just perfect. It really captures the pressure. It's a high-stakes, real-time job where you are constantly monitoring for problems, responding the second an incident happens, and then doing everything you can to make sure the system makes a full recovery.
So, after this whole journey from building the foundation to becoming a strategist, what does it actually mean to be an expert? And maybe more importantly, how is that expertise actually measured out there in the real world?
Well, see, expertise isn't just a feeling. It's benchmarked by a really clear ladder of certifications. You might start out with a foundational cert like CompTIA Security Plus. Then, you might move up to something more specialized, like the Certified Ethical Hacker or CEH. And eventually, you're aiming for those expert-level certs like the CISSP, which, get this, don't just test what you know, they require years of verified, on-the-job experience.
So, if there is one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. Cybersecurity expertise is not a destination. It's not one course you finish and then you're done. It's a continuous journey. It's a path of always learning, of applying what you learn in the real world, and then validating those skills with credentials that the industry actually respects.
So there you have it. We've laid out the map. From the fundamental laws of the land all the way up to the highest levels of strategic command. The path from beginner to expert is tough, for sure, but it is clear. Now the only question left is, where are you going to take your first step?